Ok, eu queria que começasse a apresentar.
Ok. Eu não consigo ver ninguém nem nada, portanto. Eu não sei o que está a passar.
Olá, olá, boa tarde.
Boa tarde.
Ah,
Boa tarde a vocês. Estão aí? ¿Apresentas? Olá, boa tarde com vocês. Acho que ela estão pela noite.
sim.
É verdade.
Nós não temos o melhor português, mas vou fazer de traduzir quando vocês requerem. Temos já aulas, na modalidade híbrida. Já agradecemos muito a presença da Rebeca Sampaio e Ivo Fonseca, da Universidade de Aveiro, Portugal, con inteligencia artificial generativa en el diseño de la comunicación, proceso, agencia y resultados en un estudio en una única organización. Vamos a escucharlos y por momentos puedo hacer traducción cuando ustedes o cuando se requiera. Sí, muchísimas. Fiquem à vontade de falar na linguagem que vocês quiserem.
Graças.
Obrigado.
Thank you. Good evening, I'm Rebecca, and today we'll be discussing generative AI in communication design, process, agency, and outcomes in a single organization case study. Our goal here is to understand how artificial intelligence is transforming the workflows, the practices, and the outcomes of a communication design team. First, to start, we need to understand the landscape where we are operating. We are witnessing a shift in AI, moving from a single automation tool to more of a partner. And in our research, we framed this through two opposite lenses. The first, AI as a co-creator, where AI acts as a partner, proposing new ideas and brainstorm, and AI as a material, as a design material, where AI controls and where AI can be controlled through the constraints that we designers put them. However, this shift brings paradoxes. While efficient, AI can create decision paralysis, turning designers into overwhelmed curators and of these endless options that they bring us. And crucially, there is the risk of harmonization, where outcomes become generic and ownership becomes blurred. The perception of AI in our field is often polarized. On one side, there is the fear of replacement, that AI might substitute the designers, and on the other hand, the belief that creativity is uniquely human and AI can never truly replace our contribution. Our study navigates between the risk of over reliance, which can weaken our critical design thinking, and the benefit of recognizing AI as a powerful tool that if we use correctly, can amplify our capabilities and rather than replacing them. In the work world, co-creation and AI introduce 5 distinct challenges. First is technical, where we face the black box issue, that is the lack of transparency and control over the images that are generated. Cognitive, where there is the risk of cognitive overloads and over reliance, where we might accept AI outputs just because it's good enough and we don't want to make any change. Practical, the learning curve is steep, as I mentioned, there is a tendency towards the looking of harmonization and everything starts to look the same. Political and governance, the lack of legal framework and regulatory uncertainty. And finally, ethical. Authorship is messy. Who owns design? We don't know. There are also some bias and copyright concerns. So this leads us to our core research question. We didn't just want to know if AI was useful, but how it can change us. So the question is, to what extent and in what specific ways does AI tools reshape the workflow, practices, and outputs of a communication design team operating within an AI startup? To answer this, we conducted a 6-month embedded case study where we integrated these tools directly into our production pipeline. We approached the study with 4 propositions. Essentially, they are predictions based on literature that we wanted to test. First one is speed, where we expected to gains in speed to be high at the start in the diverge, but diminish when we needed to finalize assets in the converge phase. Agency, where we believe designers would feel more in control when treating AI as a material rather than AI as a co-creator. Homogenization, where we predicted that generic prompts would lead to generic designs. And evaluations, where we anticipated that AI could help us evaluate the designs provided, and that the humans would always keep in the loop for the final rationale. For this case study, we used the methodology of the double diamond. Here we can see how we integrated the different AI tools in these stages. First one, the discovery and the define, we used LLMs like Gemini and Google AI Studio for brainstorming, briefs, everything. The develop phase was more about creating visuals. So we used Midjourney, Adobe Firefly, FreePic to generate these concepts that we were imagining, and deliver, where we circled back to Google AI Studio to help us critically analyze our final outputs and evaluate our work. So starting with our case study, we started by creating visual identity for AI agents. We wanted to avoid this scary idea of a robot, so we went for something more empathetic and familiar, the Lego-inspired aesthetic. This process was a perfect example of AI as a material, where we started with broad concepts of free peak and then moved to a Midjourney to redefine these details, like creating different items and like glasses and mustache and everything that's to create different agents. For example, for HR, another one for sales, but all of them looking the same. This wasn't an easy process. It was difficult to get a consistent image for all of them. And sometimes we needed to bring these images to Photoshop for manual fixes, like the eyes do not look the same. Maybe change the eyes. The same with the smile. So AI help us, but the human still needed to help and ensure everything is consistent. Next, we go for the video generation. That's our second project, where the idea was to showcase these agents interacting with humans. And here we wanted to basically, with Adobe Firefly, generate videos. These videos, the prompt for the video was a man working in a coffee shop, but the results were not production ready. We encountered deformed eyes, uncanny facial expression, and the general lack of realism. The images were a little bit blurred, no detail, or too much detail for something that wasn't necessary. So here the lesson is that in this case, the cost of getting a good result from AI was too high, and we pivot to an hybrid approach where we used AI to create the storyboard and the concept, everything around the GIF. But the final asset, we used stock footage for more consistent visual. This taught us that knowing when not to use generative AI is just as important as knowing when to use generative AI. Finally, in the delivery phase, we did something interesting. We fed our designs and brand guidelines to Google AI Studio and asked him to critique our work, basically for him to be a designer and search for everything that's not coherent in our brand guidelines. The AI act as a second set of eyes, for example, correctly identifying inconsistencies in our UI elements. We have the example of our agent, the color of our agent is yellow, but then the conversation, the chat boxes that we were presenting in the videos were green or red or something like that. And AI was able to see that and analyze and tell us, okay, maybe you should, for more coherent look, you need to check this and make some changes. It provided a structured analysis that helped us tighten the visual identity before we launch it. So this valid proposition that AI can improve the evaluation quality. Okay, so returning to our initial propositions, what did we find? We found that speed gains are massive in the early divergence phase, but as you get closer to the final delivery, human effort takes over to ensure better consistency in everything. We also found that agency is preserved when we treat AI as a material with constraints. And if you let AI co-create without guidance, you get generic results. But if you use negative prompts and strict brand metaphors, you retain control. So everything that if we limit our prompts and what we need, we will get a better result. Evaluation quality did improve, but only because we didn't blindly follow AI. We used it to surface issues which humans can then decide how to fix it. This happened with Google AI Studio. In conclusion, our case study showed us that this decisive factor isn't the AI tool itself, it's how we structure human decisions around it. If we treat AI as a black box that doesn't work for us, we lose agency and quality. But if we treat it as a controllable material, something we curate, edit, and constrain, we gain speed and breadth without sacrificing our professional authorship. The future of design isn't about AI replacing us. It's about us becoming better conductors in how we use these tools and how to implement them in our day-to-day life. And this way, becoming working together to a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I don't know if I should keep my rusty Portuguese or English, but I think we don't have questions in the audience now, but I have some provocations that you, I don't know, kind of inspire me to think because there's some streams of ideas between the design process and where you put the agents. And sometimes I see a very divided area and that we should use some kind of agents at the end of the design process when you need to test, iterate, and more like an engineering thing, like a lot of iteration, a lot of choose.
Mhm.
But another stream of ideas come from implementing design in the first stages,
Mhm.
when there's a bout of creativity, ideas, and more than the abstract stuff. Either
Yeah.
you're in the abstract or even you're in the very concrete, but not all along the co-creation process. And I think your ideas enable to think about how can you implement it in certain areas on the diamonds? You see whichever site
Mhm.
phases and reiterations you want to have in the design process, and being careful and take care about the agents in each step and each specialization step. I think that's really refreshing. Also, because you come from communication areas, which are
Yeah.
mine too. So I think we relate more in this than in just production or just, I don't know, abstract ideas like papers before realizing. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your presentation.
Gracias.
No hay más preguntas, tal vez José, ¿no? No, mentira. Muito obrigado pela apresentação.
Obrigada.
Muito
Até a
obrigado.
próxima. Até a próxima.
Adeus.